Hello. Welcome to all. My name is Dr. Lalit Gupta, and I'm replacing my colleague Hatim today for this webinar. There was some urgency; he could not come for this, so I'm running it for you guys. So that's me, Lalit Gupta. I did a lot of certifications in information security and business continuity. I'm an ITDR guy, so I'm here to deliver this session for you. So the topic for today is how to implement an effective IT disaster recovery. If I want to sum up the whole discussion today, I would say that do the process right from the beginning, you will not go wrong. Anywhere you take shortcuts or do the cost cutting, that will reflect at the time of disaster. So let us not do that. To start with the presentation, the objectives or the agenda for today is we will see why disaster recovery is important. Then we'll see if people get confused between business continuity and disaster recovery. Are they same or different, or what is it? Then we'll see why do I need to take care of IT disaster recovery for my business. What are the different steps to get an effective ITDR? As I said, it has to be through the process. There is no quick fix formula. You have to go through the pain of creating the ITDR and do it properly. Then we'll have a look on some challenges and what are the key success factors which if I don't take care of, I'm proceeding towards a failure. So let us know the do's and don'ts also. So that will be the agenda for today. Starting with some pictures to show you why business continuity disaster recovery is important for us. There are a lot of environmental challenges which we would face on planet Earth, like flooding, snowstorm, hurricane, earthquake. Maybe not relevant for some of the geographies, but yes, they are the threats or the risks we are facing today. Pandemics, coastal erosions, electrical storms, tornadoes, they all are reality of life. So we need to be prepared for any such situation that happens. Even in some parts of the planet, we have problem of terrorism or some civil disrupt. So we need to take care of these. It happens everywhere. I'm just putting some pictures here for the relevance purpose, but it's happening at most of the places. Interruption to my utilities. Let's say nothing is going wrong outside. I'm disrupted for some reason. Fuel shortage, power outage, damage to my cables during repairs by some utility companies, damage to the voltage power cables. We had seen a famous case of efficiency power internet cable cut in 2000. I don't know, I can't recall the year. That was a major disaster. So these things happen. We need to be prepared for all of these. Fire, it's a reality of life. It keeps happening anywhere and everywhere. My supply chain management, it can get disrupted because of some isolated incidents somewhere else, which I don't have control on, but that affects my supply chain badly. So we need to be prepared for that also. We have typical example of Toyota warehouse getting gutted down during Japanese earthquake and tsunami, and Toyota had to reduce the production by around 40% worldwide. So if Toyota kind of corporation can get affected, we can. Yeah, we get all those things. Technology, which is a big piece for any business today. It's a blessing, but sometimes it gets a problem also. So we can get disrupted through technology, some connectivity issues, some spillover. some errors, mistakes by humans. So a lot of things can happen. So let us be prepared. I outsourced my business to somebody to provide me an expertise. And over the period of time, I started depending upon them too much. And one day they were out. So business disruption. So let us take care of all these things. Something happened in your neighborhood and you are denied access to your site. How do I work now? So I need to have an effective and good ITDR in place for me to be able to work from a remote location. Now, let us understand business continuity and disaster recovery. They are huge subjects. I'm trying to sum them up in one-liners. Business continuity is nothing but creating a resiliency and redundancy in your business to keep it going so that things will not go wrong. I'm not saying they will not go wrong. They may still go wrong, but let us be prepared with a disaster recovery measure. So despite all business continuity measures, something may went wrong. Now how to go back to the business as usual is disaster recovery. So I have done all my good things for business continuity like resiliency, redundancy, backup, blah, blah, blah. But still if something goes wrong, how do I go back to my disaster business as usual is disaster recovery. So these terms are not interchangeable. They are two different aspects of the same strategy we can have in our corporation. So if I look at the top 5 causes of disruption to business, loss of technology is the first one. This was a survey done by somebody some 5 years back, and the situation remains same today because now we are more dependent on technology than the past. So loss of technology is the biggest cause of the disruption for business today. Let us we all understand how to take care of that to mitigate the impact or to reduce the impact, right? Okay, it's not only that I need to take care of my site, my office, my corporation. I should also be knowing who are my neighbors. Today, the typical scenario is we would have multi-tenanted the buildings. If there is a restaurant in my building on a couple of floors below or above, I'm at risk. Similarly, if you have airports in your neighborhood, main power supply routes, some other things like CS pumping station, restaurants, if your site is located near to that, it is a real danger you are sitting on. And I will share some examples with you on that from one of my previous clients. This is an oil storage depot in UK, and there is a business park near to that below this red line, Mainland Business Park. On Sunday, December 11th, 2005, this oil storage depot got a fire. The data set, the business park nearby did not have any fire, but still the effect of that nearby fire on this building. This was somebody's data center, and the building melted like this, with the car standing nearby. So you can imagine what would have happened with the systems and all the technology hardware there. So things go wrong. Everything is not in my control. Things go wrong somewhere else, I get affected. So let us proactively have disaster recovery things in place. And today there's a topic we are learning how to have effective ITDR. Again, a one-liner. IT is only one component of disaster recovery or business continuity, but it is the most important one. Earlier, people used to think disaster recovery, business continuity is only IT. No, they are for the whole of the business, where IT becomes one of the most important parts. So if I take care of IT, disaster recovery, and business continuity, I would say I have taken care of the maximum part of the solution, what I need to do. Okay, let us see why we need ITDR. As I said, things go wrong. These statistics we have been seeing. 9/11, around 5 billion computing infrastructure was lost. Around 100 businesses they declared disaster. Disaster recovery business continuity strategies must be there. They are one part of the big strategy we can have to have my business kept going. Now, when I talk about today, technology or data becomes very important and we need to take care of them at most, whatever we can do. Now, that is the one liner I was talking about in the beginning. For ITDR to be effective, it has to be built in, not bolt on. What does that mean? That means ITDR must be part of the design of your business. Once you establish your business and then go and think about ITDR, that will be bolt on. It may work, it may not work. Start thinking of disaster recovery from the time when you start your business, from the inception. DR steps should be part of your process. They should be so much into your processes that they should go to the psyche of your employees so that when a disaster strikes, they are not doing something new. They would be doing something they have been doing for long and what they know how to do. That's the only way to have an effective ITDR in place. Okay, whenever we start any initiative in any corporation, we look for if we have some expert help available on that. So when we started looking for ITDR helps available, I could find only one standard which is actually talking about the disaster recovery services for ICT, which is Information Communication Technology. ISO 24762 from 2008. Now, all other standards like 27,000, 22301, 31,000, 20,000, they all talk about disaster recovery in bits and pieces. This is one standard in making, it's not yet a standard, it's in making, which would talk about how to have a ITDR structure in place. So we are waiting for this standard to get finalized, and people can go for certification against this standard. As on today, we can follow it as a guideline or a framework and do a better job. So what is IT disaster recovery? The term usually refers to the technology recovery effort, including computer resources, servers, data system, telecom. So to understand the definition, it is nothing but to take care of your IT infrastructure so that it is available, at least the critical parts of it are available at the time of disaster, right? Okay, so I'm sorry for this. Okay, this is the traditional DR structure which we all have been seeing. I would have a primary side, then I'll have a BCDR side where I would either do SAN to SAN application or I may also do server and application replication to my DR side. In case if I need it ever, I would go there and start working with my critical things in place. So if something goes wrong with primary disaster site, I have a live DRBC site. I can even have application-based replication to my DRBC site. Some examples, Anand. Even if you have a virtualized environment in your primary, ITDR is still in place. Take the snapshot and keep that there. Even if I am on cloud, I need to have ITDR in place because cloud can go bad. I need to have a replication of the data of the technology available to me near to me so that if my cloud is not available, I can access it physically, right? As we see in this slide. So ITDR is not a project which you would do, start and finish it. It's a program. It's a cultural change. You may need to keep learning out of testing and other things. You would have a lot of learnings. Business environment gets changed, technology change, products change. So you need to keep this program going. So it is a program, not a project. So you initiate a project, you create a team, you take senior management approval, you start it as a project, or I would say program. First step you do is business impact analysis. We'll see that in detail. So that is one of the important parts that we need to do it perfectly. Risk evaluation and control, developing recovery strategies, emergency response operations, crisis communication, developing the plan, making your users aware of it, and maintaining the DR plan. So these are steps to have a good ITDR program in place. Keep reviewing and updating it. So what should be the goals of ITDR for me? I need to protect my organization from computer services failure, IT failure, minimize the risk to organization. I may lose business. For example, today morning I went to an ATM. So the ATM which I usually go was bad. So I went to the next ATM. Both of those ATMs are not from my core bank. So the first ATM which was down, they lost the business. I did my business with the other ATM. So today customer doesn't have time. Customer needs services up and running all the time. So let us do that for our customer sake. We do that for our businesses. So BIA is business impact analysis. So I would calculate what kind of impact my business can take in case of a disaster, and how much time do I have to come back to my business as usual. So we'll see some terms there, MTD, RTO, RPO. I'll try to make all of them clear. If not, we can have question answer session in the end, and I can answer specific questions. So you need to select individuals from different departments. Every critical function must have participation in BIA. Go and talk to their HODs, and they can recruit somebody senior in the function who understands that function, and you can go through the BIA steps with them by way of surveys, questionnaires, qualitative and quantitative approaches. There are many ways to conduct the BIA. So you identify what can go wrong and how much time would they have to come back to normalcy. So that is how you identify critical areas in IT. Wherever there is more dependency, that is becoming more critical. Wherever you can have business losses, that will become critical. So identify your critical areas. Okay, I'll talk about MTD in little while. So we can have estimates for different kind of services with different time parameters. So critical, which I may need to recover back within minutes, or for some businesses less than a minute. Urgent, important, normal, non-essential. So I take care of them according to the maximum tolerable downtime I can have. So while doing the survey, what should be in your business scope for BIA or not, you can use various methods, database, spreadsheets, interviews, questionnaires. So you identify important processes and their dependencies on systems, people, and equipment, processes. So you need to know all of that. Then you do a basic threat and risk analysis. You rank the risks and identify the mitigating controls. So for each business function, you will determine maximum tolerable downtime. And as a project manager, I would say, or a program manager for this program, you would go to senior management, tell them the rationale behind the MTD calculated by different stakeholders, and get their approval. One, it provides you security later on. Two, it validates your data. Because senior management would know about that function, the criticality, the importance, the need. So they can validate the data and you can get going. Because if BIA goes wrong, the whole ITDR would go wrong. So this is an important step. Develop the statements of impact for each process, each function, each part of the organization. Do criticality analysis, like if you would have identified some hundreds of critical processes, rank them down so that you can take care of the high risk things first. Calculate RTO, RPO, recovery time objective and recovery point objective. Recovery time objective is period of time from disaster onset to the resumption of business process. So we'll see next slide, it will be very clear. The time when disaster strikes, from that time to go to your DR site and resume operations for critical functions is recovery time objective. So in this much time, I need to be able to be at my DR site and start working, right? Recovery point objective is maximum period of data loss from onset of disaster counting backwards. What does that mean? That means, let's say I take a full backup of my data on Monday morning, 9 a.m. Disaster strikes at Wednesday noon around 2 p.m. So my recovery point objective will be, I need to recover my data till Monday morning 9 a.m. because before 9 a.m. data I have backed up. But after that I didn't take the backup. I need to recover the data. So that becomes my recovery point objective. So this is the site I was talking about. If you can see this, stage 1 is my business as usual going on. Stage 2 is the point when the disaster occurs. So stage 2 to stage 3, which is recovery, is the time I call RTO, recovery time objective. This is the time in which I need to recover back from my DR site for my critical functions. Then I would take some time to recover back fully and go to my business as usual from maybe my primary site or some other site we identified. So if I add that time to RTO, it becomes MTD, this is maximum tolerable downtime. And if I go back in time, when I took my last backup on stage 1, from stage 2 to back in time stage 1, that becomes my RPO, recovery point objective. I copy pasted this slide from a site called defaultreasoning.com. So it goes to them. So time versus cost. If my time is less, recovery time is less, my cost will go high because I need to have real-time replication, virtualization, I don't know what all measures we need to take. So the cost goes high if the time, recovery time is less. For everything you calculate MTD, RTO, RPO, go and take a management buy-off, take a management sign-off, publish them in the one database and have all these numbers available at one place. Some examples of recovery point objectives, I may have it for hours, days, weeks, months, depending upon my criticality of the processes. This was recovery time, this is recovery point objectives. So I do criticality analysis where I calculate MTD, RTO, RPO and these things. So once I know which are my critical processes based on the BIA I did for criticality analysis, I identify my biggest risk, the cost to mitigate that risk, what are different mitigation controls available, can I combine some of them to have the best of the both worlds. So are these controls aligning with the common sense, common best practices or not? So I need to answer all those things and I get these answers from BIA and beyond. So now we'll be talking about some methods of ITDR, some certain things which are popular in corporations today. I'm not saying which is best, which is not. It depends upon your scenario. There is no one size fit all solution. So you need to see the criticality, the time you have, the resources you have, funding you have from management. Depending upon that, you would decide your recovery strategy, right? So I'm just talking about a couple of them here. One is remote mirroring and data replication. Remote mirroring generates a mirrored image of data on two or more disks. So if one disk fails, you have your data available on another disk. Data replication scans data periodically for changes and copies the new data to the other disk or file system or another system. So that is another technique which we can use. There are certain factors to consider: the value of data, the criticality of data, cost for bandwidth. It's very high in some geographies I work. Your existing infrastructure, if your software supports the feature or not. So all these dependencies you need to check out. There is another system, disk-to-disk remote copy, which some experts name as luxury sedan. So the advantages are it operates at disk level, so you have more redundancy in place. It can be not complex to set up, sometimes not so complex, depends on subjectivity. It can offer the benefit of capturing all application level changes. Disadvantage, biggest is the cost. So again, I said, depending upon your requirement, you need to calculate a ROI. You cannot have a control in place which is more costly than the total risk, total cost of the risk, right? So take your judgment on that. Another alternate we see these days is block and file. It makes comparison and only copy the changes at disk or file level, not the whole file. So it can be less expensive, it can be faster. Key disadvantage is you will have your data scattered and there may be a situation where you don't have 100% availability of your data. So take your decision. Database replication is another way I can think of, typically done by replicating or mirroring the log files. There are a number of variations in that: change data, continuous mirroring, full copy refresh, trigger based. So I'm not getting into technology there, but we need to understand the concept, right? We can have hot site, remote disk mirroring, data replication, snapshots, mirroring, vaulting, on-site, backup off-site. All these are recovery strategies depending upon the importance of data, the recovery time I have, amount of data I have. So based on the permutation combinations, I decide upon which kind of recovery strategy I would go for. Okay, when you are talking to your service provider, there are certain things which we need to take care of. Ask your service provider to provide you what is their expertise in storage services. Consider how you could leverage your existing connectivity services to establish a cost-effective service contract, latency, who are their partners to assist, are they locally present to me, are they the only vendor providing the service? So all those things you need to ask them before outsourcing. Now storage has some challenges. Latency, bandwidth, you need to check. Security, it's a big thing, you need to take care of it. You cannot give your data, which is like your baby, to somebody else who would not take care of it, right? Complexity, quality of service, drop packets, manageability, auditability. If I have the rights to go and audit my data for restoration or for availability. So all those things you need to factor out. Now, okay, I'm getting into a different domain. Does outsourcing make sense? If your management is ready, if you can manage the outsourced vendor, go for it. So they are the experts. They have the experience of doing the similar thing for other clients. So I'm in favor of outsourcing. but there are different school of thoughts. So take your decision based on your understanding and requirement. Ask for help from a professional. DIY does not work every time. It's great if somebody can do it themselves, but go and seek I'm sorry, guidance from a professional, right? Simple reason. They would have been in touch with a lot of people like you who would have similar requirements. They would have more experience, they would have more resources, they could do it faster and better. I'm sorry. Or only go for the guidance and do it yourself. So take your decision. Okay. Another important aspect of disaster recovery is I did my BIA good. I developed a plan, but is it good for me? Will it work for me when the time is there, when the requirement is there, when the need is there? You need to test it out regularly to be sure that it will work as expected at the time of disaster. There are some different ways of testing: document review, walkthrough, simulation, parallel test, cutover test. I'm not getting into details of those. I assume you all know about that. If not, we can discuss over questions like this. Train your staff. As I said in the beginning, disaster recovery procedures should go into the psyche of your staff. So they should be ready every time. It may be possible that while we are developing my ITDR and the disaster strikes, so what happens? You need to gear up and one, do it fast, have the basic plan in place. Two, keep on training your staff for that so that at the time of disaster, they do not go to look for a paper. All those steps, all those procedures should be ingrained in their mind. So train your staff. How do I maintain my disaster recovery plan? Why do I need to maintain my disaster recovery plan? There are business changes, there are product changes, there are environment changes, technology changes, people change, service providers change. So I need to keep on updating my disaster recovery plan. I need to keep on maintaining it. So some critical success factors, challenges for ITDR are: ITDR cannot be a IT department initiative. It has to come from top. ITDR should cater to the business requirements, not IT requirements. Do proper awareness and trainings for your staff. Make them responsible and accountable for certain things. Keep on testing their knowledge. Keep on improving by maintaining the plan. So these are the things which we need to do. Set expectations for the disaster recovery plan. Disaster recovery plan is not a magic wand, right? There are limitations to it. So set those expectations right from the very beginning. Create a detailed project plan and have a budget available for that. Get the blessings from your stakeholders. Don't go for the best option always. Go for the best suitable option, depending upon your resources, time, funding you have, based on all those things, the kind of risk you are dealing with. Choose the best possible option. You know, when 9/11 happened, nobody would have thought something like this can happen. And obviously, the companies which were working from there, they did not factor the risk of twin towers cutting down. But there were two companies who had thought of, what if I do not have this tower office available to me, what will I do? So, one, as a human being, I cannot think of everything, so admit that. Two, if things go wrong beyond your imagination, accept that. We all make mistakes, we all learn from our mistakes. And ITDR, as I said, it's a program, not a project. It keeps on going. We keep on learning, we keep on improving it, modifying it. Report early and often. Any incidents which are happening in your environment, have a process in place to report them as soon as possible. Manage your changes. You get to know who is making change and what, and keep your documents ready for every step. That is practically the end of my session today. We'll have some questions after this. Conclusion is, again, I'm not reading through the slide. I would say ITDR is again built in, not a bolt on, right? And keep on testing it, keep on improving it. So the floor is open for questions. You can send it to Ms. Geeta. She can share them with me and I can answer. Okay, we have a question that 24762 is withdrawn. Would it be released again? It was withdrawn for a reason that they were coming with the PCM standard 22301, but we expect they would come back with a DR specific standard. So it's again in draft mode, and we expect to get it very soon. Any more questions, guys? We still have time. Okay, there is another question where somebody is asking what should be the ideal distance between the primary site and the DR site. Now again, as I said, there are no formulas for anything. It depends on your kind of business, your kind of geography. Ideally, your DR site and your primary site should not be on the same electrical grid, or if I would say not on the even on the same tectonic plate, so that to mitigate the risk of having a power outage from the grid level and mitigating the effect of a possible earthquake if you have both the sides on the same tectonic plate. So there could be some pointers, but again it depends upon your resources, your time available, your management intent. If management would say that I cannot afford to have a DR site very far, you need to rationalize that and you need to take a decision. So there is no formula for that. Thank you. We still have 14 minutes left for more questions. even after this session, if anybody has any queries or questions about ITDR, BCM, or any of these topics, next slide I'll be sharing my email ID, so you can even contact us later on. Okay, so I believe there are no more questions. As I said, this is my email ID. You can contact me later on also. Hope I was able to add value to your ITDR knowledge today. Thank you very much. Thank you so much, guys.